The following show features episodic breakdowns of Jackass, either performed by professionals or under the supervision of professionals. For your safety, avoid listening to this podcast at all times. Hi, I'm Mikey Aaronworth.
I'm Jason Wellwood.
And I'm Chris Aaronworth.
Welcome to Jackass.
And welcome to Jackast. It's the podcast where we break down every single stunt from every single episode of the greatest show on television. It's Jackass.
Jay, your voice sounds a little different today. You almost sound like Mikey.
It sounds a little better, doesn't it? I mean, listen to this
I think
thing.
so.
Well, listen, I was, we just hit record and said go on this. If you're wondering why this introduction sounds a little bit different than it normally does, it's because Jay is on vacation right now and he couldn't join us. My name is Mikey Aaronworth, and I'm here to relive with all of you all of the belly laughs, bad ideas, and broken bones from one of our favorite shows of all time. And I am joined, as always, by
Chris Aaronworth. Now everything's changing for me. I was laughing at you trying to figure out. Now I got to figure it out.
And Chris, how about this? Why don't you figure out what day this episode came out on and give us your patent pending, actually, fun fact of the day.
Well, first of all, I want to clear up a few things. I had to rebuttal a few things from last week when I wasn't here. You guys got quite a few things wrong. There's no fucking way I ate 100 chicken wings. It was called...
That's what you said.
No.
You said you ate 100.
Chicken soft bone. Fried chicken soft bone. Do you know what that is?
No, of course not.
So,
I'm not a nerd.
It's funny how, and then you guys all go, oh, this is going to be a tame episode because Chris saying all the culturally insensitive stuff when I'm the one that actually eats foods from places, so I actually care about other cultures. It's Asian chicken soft bone, not Chinese chicken wings.
You're so intolerant of other cultures that when you eat their food, it makes you too sick to record podcasts. So
I ate 100 of them.
Here? Exactly. So that's my point.
Do you know what? They're so goddamn good. Do you know what it is? You know the cartilage at the top of chicken wings?
Yes.
Or like the drumstick and shit?
Yes.
That's exactly what it is. You could actually buy that, turns out, and fry it up like popcorn. It looks like popcorn chicken. It is so fucking good. I literally ate like 100 of them.
My stomach hurts thinking about it, because that's right. If you're new to the podcast and you're listening for your first time, first of all, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Secondly, last week, Chris, you were too sick to record, so it was just Jay and myself. Mikey Aaronworth coming in as the constant in your Jackass lives.
Well, that is true. And you know what? I felt bad because if you did listen last week, I gave Mikey on purpose a really dark, hard
fun fact of the
day. So I'm like, you know what? I got to go with something aggressive and not cheerful at all this time. First of all, this episode came out on December 16th of the year 2003.
Uh-huh.
And this day in history, 16-year-old Lionel Messi made his official debut for Barcelona when he came on as a substitute against Porto.
See, I like
what
that,
a great
Chris.
day in history.
That's a great day in history.
That was the day, probably the greatest player of all time made his debut. Who would have thought he would have this long, illustrious career?
Well, I was worried because usually when you start a sentence with a 16-year-old, it just goes off the rails. And I know we're not doing an episode of Viva La Bam, so we're not going to relitigate all the issues surrounding Don Vito, but you scared me for a second there, Chris.
I did that on purpose, and I gave myself a very joyful fun fact and just made sure I stuck you with the shitty one when I wasn't there, when I was shitting.
It works, but listen, we pulled it off, and we're going to pull off this episode in spite of the fact that our loyal companion Jay is not here to join us. We are joining the WildBoyz in a trip over to the Florida of the world. It's Australia. I know I mentioned in the Florida episode that Florida was the Australia of the United States. I think Australia is the Florida of the rest of the world. So
how excited did you get when you saw Australia? Because Australia is the home of the most dangerous animals in the world. It's the most deadliest animals. You knew, when it came on, I was like, oh my God, we're in for a treat.
I was fucking pumped.
Not gonna lie, the theme a little song, disappointed.
I agree with you, but when the theme song kicked in and it was like Australia, in my mind, it was like a more intense theme song. I was like, oh, fuck yeah, we're doing it. But I agree, they should have done this over 2 or 3 episodes. It was so rapid fire that they couldn't really, their personality didn't really shine. It was just like, shit, we got so much to do. Let's let it.
Except for the last sketch.
Except for the last sketch. The last sketch was very good. But before we get
man, I was going to do my fun fact of the day. And in today's day, the fun fact. I totally forgot about that. Satanicus sarcophagus.
That was Sarcotinus. Yeah. Well, Jesus, that's a long ways away. Scrolling through my notes, we have a ton to get through. So let's get started. Before we get to the last sketch, we obviously have to start with the first one, and we're joining the WildBoyz on the beach, skipping along. They call Australia an island, country, continent, prison, paradise, all while holding hands. And after giving this glowing review to what is Australia, they strip down naked, hold hands, and skip down the beach the other way. It's very, very, I don't know, it really awoken something in me. I felt really calm and content watching these two best friends discover each other's bodies.
It was so nice. It was just happy. I was just happy when they just dropped trow and just friggin' held hands and skipped off. Like,
they do seem like two just happy gents. And I mean, Chris, you and I, we've tried this before. It just wasn't as I guess, sentimental as it was for them. It was out of necessity. We were stranded on a desert island. We had to strip down to our knickers. And this was we realized it was really 10 minutes
really bad
into
for
it.
us.
Yeah.
Because we both are circumcised, so we couldn't dock to keep our penis heads warm. And it was just like, they say you got to do these things. And we just realized, like, the wrong person to be locked away with or lost on an island.
True. And we couldn't dock, but not for lack of trying. We gave it our best shot. What a trip it was. Okay, so we go from the beach off into the ocean, into the Great Barrier Reef, prior to it being bleached. By the way, is that it's still happening? Is the Great Barrier Reef bleached? Is that true? Because it seemed like once it started, it was just going for like...
I think that there was, once it starts, there's no way of going back. This happens. This has been happening. It's a phenomenon that's been going on all over the world in different reefs. It just sucks that it has happened. They think it has to do with like sunscreen from people swimming in there.
Oh, wow.
That's like one of the theories. Like, I don't think they quite know what fully is causing it. They have a bunch of competing theories and different ideas. It's just sad because I was like one of my bucket list places to go snorkeling, and I'm never really going to get to see it like that.
Well, at least you got to live vicariously through the WildBoyz in maybe my second favorite sketch of this whole thing. It was very straightforward, but you get some David Bowie going on in the background as Steve-O and Chris Pontius.
Nice.
It was David Bowie. Just kind of amble around the reef, running into some sharks. A giant clam, a sea cucumber makes its return, and Steve-O jacks it off, obviously.
Why is that one of my favorite visions? Is like that look.
It was a big one, too.
Often.
It was a big one.
This was a huge one.
I have a question, though, because this time it felt like after it came, like we can say that, right? The sea cucumber came. I don't know what else you call it.
100% is coming.
It came for sure. But it felt like it was like a Spider-Man thing where the web stayed inside it. Like, was it?
It does a lot of the time.
Oh, really? So
like
it just
strings,
comes back in.
It's like usually like strings. I don't know if it goes back in, but it's not like a cummy type texture from what I've seen in the past. It's usually
maybe
very
not your
stringy.
cum.
Well, he's shooting ropes, that's for sure. He got like fucking 9 ropes there.
Yeah, exactly. The one I think here that made me realize, the animal I think that made me realize it shouldn't be on this earth is the giant clam. What are we doing with these things? Why do we have them? Why is there basically a shell that is a living thing and is way too big for anyone to do anything with?
Like, first of all, the edges of the clamshell, is it soft?
I think
or
it's
hard?
soft.
Like, is it like a lip?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Right? And then, because I was like, to stick your hand in there, I guess they obviously did research.
I was thinking the same thing.
That'd be really stupid to do otherwise. Like, does it, like, how tight is it on their arms? Is it like you couldn't pull it out until it opens its mouth? Like, that would be scary. What if you run out of oxygen? But they were clearly, I don't think it was that intense because they were laughing. And even at one point, Pontius had his mask off.
Yeah,
like he took his like.
I think they probably would have had Manny there, and they would have been like, "Hey, we saw this giant thing at the bottom of the ocean. Would you mind if we put our hand in it? And would it really hurt us?"
Why didn't they put their dick in there? Why did not Pontius at least try and put his dick in one time?
I was hoping for that. I was really hoping for that. It felt like the natural progression of that stunt. Johnny Knoxville would have done it in a heartbeat. No, but overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It reminded me like of the underwater levels in Mario 64. Just a peacefulness to it.
Peaceful?
Yeah.
Water levels in all video games are hell on fucking earth.
Most of them. But remember and this is getting real inside baseball, but remember the star that you had to get in Mario 64 underwater, and it was like, can eel come out to play or whatever? And you'd be underwater, it was like do 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 do.
Yeah, that level was pretty cool, but it was so scary with the eel when you had to like get him out of his little fucking hole and then grab the fucking
big
star
things
out of his
underwater.
tail.
I don't like big things underwater. I do not like. But little things on the ground sometimes I do like, especially when their butt looks like their face. Chris, you can probably relate to the Shingleback Lizard. No facial features is what they're implying.
That's just humor, Mikey. Come on, you're better than that. I had that joke written. I was going to say that, and I'm pissed off that you beat me to the punch.
Well, when I'm the host, because Jay's away, I get to make the all the jokes that I want. You just have to sit there and take it, and that's it. Listen, I also have final editing rights, so if you made the joke better, I would just say it and edit it to make it seem like I was the one who said it first. Did you also edit this
cool new backdrop I have, where I'm in a completely different room out of the blue? If you're watching on YouTube,
yeah, you just changed. You just changed out of nowhere. I think it looks good. It's better than the plain white background that you had. It's actually pretty sweet. Not gonna lie. But the Shingleback Lizard is it's this is a weird segment where they're kind of like trying to teach you that it's a deaf and dumb and mute lizard that they don't know how it survives. They had me hook, line, and sinker. 100%, because of course Australia is going to have something like that. Like if naked mole rats exist, this thing can definitely exist. Worms exist, and they're pretty similar, right? Where are their eyes? I don't fucking know. Do they have eyes? I'm not sure.
They poo. They poo on me.
They poo on, well, a lot of things poo on you, Chris, and it depends on how much you pay. But yeah, so they walk away. Obviously, you just see that the Shingleback is just a
for the fans over here. Jay actually happened to go to his dream place of Mexico, where there's all the bean burritos, so he could have the best poo times on his vacation.
Hang on, some music just turned on in my place. 1 second. Hey Google, stop. But yeah, so not a ton more to say about this stunt. People, the listener isn't aware, but we've been having issues all
so many
throughout this
technical
recording.
difficulties.
But now we're going to be back. We know we have no issues when we're in the hands of Andrew Kelly, wildlife expert in Australia. In particular, he's showing Steve-O koalas. Now, I think everyone in their right mind wants to hug a koala. They are perfect huggers. Every time you see them, they're hugging the thing that they're clinging to, which is, usually a tree. You just don't want it to be your naked back, which we're getting to see in this one with Steve-O. Now, Chris, koalas, were they always cute for you growing up?
100%.
Right?
I always loved I think I had a pet koala. Actually, ironically, I had like a stuffed animal as a kid. It was a koala, and it actually had sharp claws. It wasn't like sharp, but it was like you didn't really want to it's like it could jab you, Do you kind of remember that?
I honestly do. I really do. I also I had the koalas. I feel like were way more in the zeitgeist like 20 years ago. They were way more popular than they are now.
Remember that drink koala?
No. What was that? What the fuck is that?
Oh, it's like a carbonated fruit beverage. It was so good. They had apricot, and you don't remember that? Mom would get, it was like a special treat. Oh my god.
No.
I gotta fucking find that.
Well, we're reliving our childhood memories.
Everything's
here.
Coming back these days. Canadian. Clearly Canadian.
Remember Clearly Canadian? Yeah. Everything, all those classic drinks. We're like, you know what? Fuck it. We love sugar. Let's bring that all back as quickly as we can.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's funny because when you see this koala hug Steve-O and the amount of pain he's in immediately, I bet you a lot of people look at that and don't understand how it could possibly hurt so much. Their claws are nuts. And if I pick up my dog and I don't have a shirt on and she kind of claws at my back or something like that, it's agony. It's absolute agony. So I couldn't even imagine how bad this was. This is like some of the most pain I've seen Steve-O in. Like he could not handle it.
And good on Pontius for not skipping a beat and saying, keep it on longer so he'll tear off that stupid tattoo.
Yeah, it's amazing. And he's petrified too. Steve-O seems scarred. His back physically scarred and mentally scarred just at the look, sound, and feel of a koala. So instead we go to something less petrifying. It's Fabrizio, the jumping crocodile.
He's the only one in the world.
The only one in the world that jumps.
They all have to learn from him, apparently.
Yeah, just like martial arts, which is amazing. I love those backstories that they build for no fucking reason. That's like half of what makes them great.
It's like, I feel like they're coming to their own now. Like at the beginning, it's like, are we a nature show? And then they're like, fuck that, man. Let's just make up the most stupid shit. For example, the ass-faced lizard. They're like a whole segment and it's just completely false and made up for our entertainment. And I love how they're flipping this stuff into it now because this is what we want out of them.
And it's funny too, because like you know that they give zero fucks about the actual facts now because in I think 2 or 3 intros, they made mistakes in what they were saying. Like Steve-O doesn't know how to read or speak, apparently. Like, so instead of saying indigenous in a couple sketches when he's introducing them, he says ingenuous or something, or like ingenious or something. He's like, these aren't ingenious to this area. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And Chris says, Pontius says something similar around there. But I wanted to kind of put this to you, Chris, for a special segment. You're the science guy on this episode or on this podcast, especially when it comes to animals. Saltwater crocodiles, scary as shit. Yep. You used to watch the Crocodile Hunter all the time. Give us a stat that we don't know about crocodiles.
About crocodiles,
or a fact?
Okay, a fact. Well, the saltwater crocodiles in particular, they could live in both fresh and salt water, and they're often actually found swimming 100 miles away from shore.
Oh shit! Wait, just swimming?
Yeah.
Just like
like they'll be like driving a boat, like where you don't even see the land, and they're like, "What the fuck is that?" And there's like a massive saltwater, like I'm talking about like a 20-footer, like as big as they get. Just
that's so
swimming
scary.
Deep in the ocean for some reason. They don't quite know why, or if they're hunting, or maybe they just fucking went on a stroll.
Elephants doing that too sometimes, eh? Elephants just like
swimming in the ocean?
Yeah. They get. I think they
You're
just.
Such a fucking. Is this a WildBoyz fact?
This is not a WildBoyz fact. This is real. They find elephants like off the coasts, like miles in the ocean, just swimming. I'm assuming they like get caught up by a current or lost or something like that. And
maybe that's what happens.
Can't find their way back.
With crocodiles too.
But imagine going like deep sea diving and finding the carcass of an elephant at the bottom of an ocean. That would be the creepiest fucking thing you could ever see.
For sure.
I would not like that. Almost as creepy as watching an enormous saltwater crocodile jump out of the water to hit a little bit of chicken, because that's what Chris Pontius and Steve-O are doing. They're tempting it, and we're getting some good jumps out of it. We're also getting something. Speaking of doing stupid things, you don't give guys like Steve-O and Chris Pontius something that they can throw and have huck back at themselves, and they do in this case. It's a boomerang. I'm always a little bit nervous when the WildBoyz introduce themselves to like indigenous communities, and in this case, the Aborigines.
Yeah, fuck. I don't give a fuck how this is going to come across. Warren ain't no fucking indigenous guy. First of all, his name's Warren. You could tell by his voice, like he's fully Australian. It's like, did he just like, I'm gonna go live with these people? Like, he clearly was born in like fucking Sydney, or like in fucking, whatever one of those big towns is in Australia. Like, he wasn't born in that tribe. I can almost fucking guarantee it. His name's fucking Warren.
I think there's an element of maintaining tradition as well. Even if you weren't born, in a field, you can always, embrace your culture.
No, but like, you know what I'm trying to say? I think he like chose, like converted to Aboriginal.
Oh,
like I think he was like part of regular society. He speaks exactly like he was. Like, not saying other people don't, but you could just, there's no accent. He's like, if you look at him underneath the grub in the dirt, like you could tell he was just a city boy that decided to go Aboriginal.
Well, I don't know if a city boy could throw a boomerang as well as Warren can.
Well, he fucking learned. Yeah, Warren's pretty goddamn good. Dude, boomerangs.
Yeah,
I fucking have my whole life have had a fascination with boomerangs.
Can we talk?
I love them so much.
About boomerangs and how much of a fucking lie they are.
Mikey, no, well, obviously, if you get like the shitty plastic ones that we got when we were kids, Mikey, tell me you remember this. We were in Florida. We went to like a dollar store. Mom bought us like a plastic boomerang. We go to the fucking beach. I hucked the fucking boomerang so fucking far in the air, and it actually, for the first time, spins, comes back, and there was a fat guy laying on his stomach, and it went whoo, and just fucking got stuck underneath his belly, and he's fucking looking up, and I'm like, I want my boomerang back, but I can't admit that I just threw a fucking boomerang on a beach. He's looking around, and I just gave up on that. Was the last time I ever had a boomerang. Do you remember that?
I remember getting those boomerangs. I don't remember this situation specifically.
I couldn't have fucking just, it went like right under his gut. He was just a big fat guy laying on his stomach. I think
as a kid as well, you just expect that like when someone tells you something does something, the technology is going to take care of itself. But we would huck a boomerang, just like overhand tomahawk throw it and expect it to return to us, and it wouldn't. And I'd be so disappointed. But yeah, even to this day,
clearly they do work though.
Maybe I think this is special effects. I've thrown so many boomerangs in my life. I've never had one return to me. I think we've been lied to. Like, what do you even mean they come back? You throw it that way. Why is it going to decide to come back to you? It isn't like video games show it. I think they're lying. And then they throw it up in the air and it like makes a big hoop and comes back to you. It's like, that's not how you're going to kill someone in war. What are you hoping that they jump real high or they're standing on a mountain? Like, that's not how you throw a boomerang.
Go watch tribal boomerang videos. It's fucking gnarly, man. They take out fucking kangaroos with those things all the time.
Tribal warfare boomerangs featuring
Dude, and you want to tell
Smith.
me that shit didn't work? Look, Warren Smith. They fucking, when that fucking thing came around and fucking pegged Pontius in the fucking face.
I lost my mind. I
rewinded it like fucking 10 times, man. It was like, I'm like, oh my God, the boomerang's actually working. He's going to get it. He's going to get it. And then clunk. Fucking instant bleeding across his fucking forehead.
Those things look dangerous. And you could tell, like, when you do see the boomerang kind of gaining speed and circling back and coming back, like, that's got to be pretty fucking scary. Even Warren, when he caught the boomerang, looked kind of uncomfortable doing it.
Right? I think you got to step aside, but I could just imagine Pontius sitting there like, just like we were, like, I've thrown these things my whole life. They don't fucking work. And all of a sudden, he's about to fucking successfully throw and return a boomerang.
Yes.
And he's so hyped up on the idea. He's like, it's going to work. It's going to work. And then just clunk fucking right in the face.
It's like when you're at a baseball game and you see the ball coming towards you, the once in a lifetime opportunity, and you miss it. And then the kid 3 seats back from you gets it. Hey, by the way, if you're at a baseball game and you catch a foul ball and there's a little kid behind you, do you give it to him or no?
No, fuck that shit.
Yeah, fuck that kid. Fuck that kid. You want it? You want it? Grow up. I've
Grow
been
up.
on this earth a while.
It depends. If I've like caught like 10 in my life or something like that, I've never caught one at a game. Like in my first one, not a fucking chance. Especially if it's like a big, here's the other thing. If it's like a fucking, your favorite player's landmark baseball, would you fucking give it back to him or would you hold out and sell it back to him?
I would hold on to it and give it back to him after the game. I want credit for it, and I want people to know I'm a good guy. Like,
would you hold out for like a ransom?
No.
Why,
no,
man? These fucking players don't give a fuck about you.
It's not mine. I don't care.
They have so much money, man. Fuck that shit. I'd be like, how much? I would want season tickets. I'd want a large lump sum of cash, and I'd want to fucking go for dinner or something.
You're gonna force this guy to go to dinner with you?
Dude, I am, especially if it's a big one. I actually might even say, let me fuck your girlfriend too, buddy. How much does the ball mean to you? Fuck these guys, man. They're making fucking money off my blood, sweat, and tears.
There's a story about Derek Jeter, and anytime he would hook up with someone, he would give them a gift basket on their way out, and part of their gift basket included a signed baseball. Yeah. Which is fucking amazing. I love that, man.
What a power move. Okay, we should move on because fucking I could talk about this for hours.
So we see them throwing the boomerang. We see JP Blackmon put on the kangaroo outfit and get hucked with a couple of kangaroos. They carry him off, and then we get to see the classic gray kangaroo thong sprint, which is an icon of every episode. The boys put on their thongs, and we get to see their asses from the back. We hate to see them go, but we love to watch them leave, especially when they're chasing a bunch of gray kangaroos away. And now we have one of the segments I was looking most forward to. We've got Steve-O and Pontius. They're in their broken down car, quote unquote, with a dog on top of the car, but it's not any regular
those
dog.
Are dingoes.
Chris.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
Honestly, I've been waiting for this moment because I saw those things. First of all, I didn't know dingoes were actually from Japan.
Neither did I.
They're originally from Japan. And then I look at them and they look exactly like Frankie. Not exactly, but
same thing.
They look like your dog.
So I have a Shiba Inu.
I was so excited to see if...
Yeah. I have a Shiba Inu. It's a Japanese dog, and they have this real distinct looking face, kind of like a pinched face. A lot of the dogs that you'll get from Japan, I'm thinking like Basenjis and Akitas and even Chow Chows to a degree, Shiba Inus, they all have that similar looking face, and these dingoes did. As soon as I saw them, I was like, oh shit, that looks like a Shiba. And then to find out that they swam from Asia, that was actually, look, you don't always learn things on WildBoyz, but when you do, sometimes it's some pretty neat information.
Absolutely.
And this is where Steve-O said these guys are not ingenious to Australia. They're in fact ingenious to Asia instead of indigenous, which I found really funny. But we move from there to kind of a naughty little animal, a naughty little beast.
Nature's fucking
chainsaw,
man.
What is this, Friday the 13th? No, it's November the 16th when this came out, but it should be Friday the 13th because we got the Spotted Tail Qual Nature's Chainsaw. Chris Pontius still with a cut on his head from the boomerang, which you'll see make an appearance in a couple other sketches in this episode, which is amazing. And they're feeding this thing and it's fine. Like it's okay. We're watching this rabid animal. And this, I think, Chris, is where you and I kind of got into kind of our opinion on how there's too much in this episode. Everything just feels like it's, here's an animal, here's a little thing, move to the next one. Here's an animal, here's the thing, move to the next one. Give the dingo a shoe, we're moving to the next sketch. But at least in this one, Steve-O said, hey, well, I'm feeding him. You pick him up on the tail, he said to Pontius. And Pontius is like, it's a guaranteed bite. And Steve-O said, good. And he did it. And he did it anyway.
He did it a few times.
Yeah.
I keep getting bit by nature's chainsaw. When he shows it's just like a puncture wound. He's like, what the hell is that?
And you know when you get like a weird cut or an injury or something and all you can do is shake because it hurts so much? You look at Pontius's hand and there's this puncture that's like so deep that it's not even bleeding. Like those ones that just look fake and his hands shake. I'm like, man, Pontius is more tough than we give him credit for, I think.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. And then we get a scene, another terrifying scene. We're back to the Saltwater Crocodiles and they're fighting. And just to show kind of how big and powerful they are. But Steve-O's there and he's got some food for them to maybe break up the fights, but he's not going to feed it in any normal way. He's throwing the food at them. I think because he mentions that vibrations kind of like attract the instinct of the crocodiles, and he's feeding them from up on fucking stilts.
Yeah, they show the shot and then they pan out. I'm like, okay, whatever, another crocodile feeding thing. And they pan out and he's on stilts. Camo fucking stilts.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know what it is. I think I've talked about it before in an episode.
How much you love camo?
I'm fascinated. No, that's for sure. Yeah. But I'm just fascinated by stilt pants. Like just the long wide leg. They're just so, there's something about them. Like I just can't get enough of them.
No, what is it that fascinates you?
I don't know. I really don't know. They're just long and they just have these wide legs. And it's like, who fucking makes the pants like that? Like, that's a shitty fucking business plan.
Is there one company you go to and you're like, listen, and they say, let me guess, you need some stilt pants. And they say, fucking obviously, why else would I go to stiltpantfactory.org? And they say,
well, as long as you're not ordering it from wish.com, you can just get regular pants. You're like, fuck, this isn't going to work.
No, I think you order regular pants from wish.com and you get stilt pants. I think that
could be the case too.
It's one or the other. It's never what you actually order. But Steve-O, just hucking meat at the alligator or the crocodiles, it looks like. And as he's walking away, they make that hiss sound, that terrifying hiss sound. And it got me thinking, like, from rattles to hissing to bears growling, why are all predatory warnings so terrifying? Can't we get one that's kind of like, hey, like a nerd calling out from the bushes? Hey, buddy.
I mean, from an evolutionary perspective, that would be a really good tactic. Like, you don't want to scare away your prey. You want your prey to come in. It's like a bad guy, like in the scary movie, being like, "Don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you."
Exactly.
Like,
oh, maybe he's not going to hurt me.
In that case, I'll come from under the bed.
Yeah. What is the predatory animal's equivalent of a white van with candy in it? Like that's what the animals need to figure the fuck out. They got to hide in plain sight. Give something they want.
They're in like fucking nobody. Even if you knew there wasn't animals in swamps, you wouldn't want to go in a swamp.
No, of course not. But I think this is also why mariachi bands always get bit by snakes, rattlesnakes.
What?
Well, because they hear the rattles and they're like, "Fuck yeah, that's a jam." They amble on over there.
Oh my god.
So we move.
We got to ask Jay about that when he gets back from Mexico.
Oh, yeah. So we move, obviously, from the crocodiles to Pontius and Steve-O and Buster Brim playing on the didgeridoo and Chris Pontius doing some more dancing. A sketch we could probably just move past. It feels like every time we get involved with a country that is home to, as all countries are, an indigenous community, the WildBoyz feel like they need to ingratiate themselves to them in the most uningratiating way possible, as Pontius does as he dances backwards into a fern. But we move from there to a cockatoo. This is one that I really love. Pontius says about the cockatoo, at $1,500 a pop, because his energy, Pontius's energy from the beginning of the sketch, he fucking hates cockatoos, and you can hear it. Like at $1,500 a pop, they're the biggest ripoff at the pet store, and it's just they're yelling in his ear, and you could tell he fucking hates it. Cockatoos. Do you remember, Chris? Mom used to always talk about how much she loved cockatoos.
Yeah,
but they're like the pigeons of Australia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're everywhere in Australia. And it's like, imagine going to Australia and selling them a pigeon for $1,500. People in Australia probably look at us with cockatoos like, what are you fucking doing? Like, kind of like everyone in the world looks at people when they have a pet rat. Like, why would you you're doing that because you want that to be your personality. Like, that's the 100%. Only reason you get a pet rat. Almost similar to snakes as well, though at least you don't find snakes in your garbage all the time, unless you're from Florida or Australia, I guess. So the cockatoo bites Steve-O a bunch of times as Pontius just takes a giant shit on cockatoo and cockatoo culture across the board. It's a question of who he's making enemies with quicker, the indigenous people of Australia or the cockatoo population of Australia. We'll find out maybe by the end of the episode. And we go obviously to Pontius sleeping. It's another Black Mamba sketch, Chris. Are you a fan of the Black Mamba sketches?
I love the Black Mambas. This he got Mamba'd a lot. That was a good Mamba. He said it too. He's sleeping on the tiniest bed, Chris Pontius is. The Black Mamba obviously is when they put the snake sock on, the little puppet, and they go from almost a first-person view angle and slap the shit out of the guy who's sleeping. And they slap Pontius a lot, and it takes him a solid 10 seconds to wake up fully. And do you remember what he says after? He just kind of mumbles out. Is that what that was? That was a lot.
That was a lot of Black Mamba. Like when this happens to Steve-O, Steve-O's always pissed, and he's like, "Well, fuck you guys! I can't believe you did this." Pontius immediately goes into Pontius mode. Like he seems like the best person.
Oh, 100%.
Now look, Pontius made a lot of enemies with a bird as well. He's got the cassowary now that he's got to deal with.
This
standing up for the
sketchiest bird I've ever seen. Has fucking razor sharp talons. He basically has knives on his feet and fights with his feet.
Yes.
Holy fuck.
Why do you think anyone ever in the days of like cockfighting would bring a baby cassowary to a cockfight and just say like, no, it's like a blue chicken. Like
that would be a really smart move. Because I heard in the cockfights they actually do attach like daggers to their fucking the feet and shit.
Yeah. Which is petrifying. Do you think, here's the thing. We talk about cockfighting as though it's awful, and in a lot of cases it is. But we allow UFC. You know, we know what we're doing. Do you think there's an element to these chickens that are like, or these roosters that are like, no, it's my goal. I want to fuck some shit up.
There's like the fucking Chicken Liddell.
Yeah, Chick Liddell.
Chick Liddell.
The Chick Liddell of the community just wants to fuck
like
up other chickens.
Sick ass mohawk and he's just loving it, man. He's fucking getting all.
They have the little exactly, like fur at the top of their head, the feathers.
Someone's got to fucking Photoshop Chick Liddell for us. That would be absolutely amazing.
I would love to see that, Chick Liddell. So I don't know. Maybe we need to let these chickens and these cocks fight their way out. But until then, we've got the cassowary fighting a blow up doll version of Chris Pontius. What is it about Chris Pontius that every time someone has to get in the ring with a very dangerous animal and put on puffy clothes to protect themselves, they're like, let's call Pontius. He loves wearing the puffy clothes.
Yeah, and he always seems to fuck up in the ring. Like he always trips or falls or hits something and gets into a sketchy situation. Like when he was falling down, you know how quickly he could die there? Now his throat is at fucking talon level, and you could tell how fucking shook he was. This was actually way more sketchy. I never would have thought that this sketch would have turned out as sketchy as it did.
Well, I think when you think bird, you think of something you could very easily overpower. You know, it's the same reason why goose attacks are so prominent. Like we live where there are a ton of Canadian geese, and people get sent to the hospital for getting too close to geese all the time. They're way more powerful than you would imagine. And then that's a Canadian goose. This is like 4 times the size of a Canadian goose with sharper talons and way more aggression. Actually, it's Canadian geese are fucking assholes. Almost. Yes. Yeah. Although ostriches are probably evil too. Why are we letting them off the hook?
Remember when that emu wanted to fuck you in Winnipeg?
Well, it was mutual, Chris. I wouldn't say it was just the emu wanted to fuck me.
It fell in love with you. It was the weirdest fucking thing ever.
Yeah, there was an emu on a farm. I don't know what it was doing in Winnipeg or who brought it there. It clearly didn't fly there because they don't fly. So someone had to fucking walk it over. I don't know. And it fell in love with me. It was following me all over the place. It's funny because Pontius, as he's getting trapped by the cassowary, says that was really stupid, as everyone is thinking that's what looking on. And they show the other angle where, as you mentioned, Chris, they see his the look on his face, and he does look absolutely petrified, eh?
Yeah, for sure.
So we go from one petrifying place to another. It's Tasmania. I don't know how Tasmania, they need a new PR company to do some representation, because every time you hear Tasmania, you think Tasmanian Devil and just really scary shit going on. I don't know why this place seems so rugged and dangerous. I will say Tasmania is the Australia of Australia, which is like the Florida of Australia of Australia. It's home to some of the worst and meanest animals.
You just inceptioned me so hard. We're so many levels there.
So we start off with I would say by far the worst sketch we've seen in WildBoyz to date, next to maybe the Spitting Cobra, the Tasmanian Pandemolone boxing match. I don't know how you it basically, they're trying to referee a boxing match with what looks like a miniature kangaroo and Steve-O, and all it does is take aim at Pontius as the referee, and that's about it. There's like nothing going on unless you saw something I didn't.
No, not at all.
No, this one's pretty stupid. So instead, let's go to something, instead of fighting, let's go into loving and kissing the kookaburra as Chris Pontius and Steve-O are in doggy style for some reason. Do you remember this one? You want to walk us through what happens in this sketch?
Yeah, it's just the bird is just sitting there, its little puckered lips. And the Pontius moves in the most gentle way. This might have been nature's most gentle moment I've ever seen in my life.
I think
so. It just gives him a very delicate, and that was it. That was just fucking beautiful, beautiful moment.
And the bird is standing on Steve-O's back, who is bent over at doggy style level with Chris Pontius. Like the homoeroticism in this show is just, it knows no bounds, and they just really don't pull any punches.
They ramp it up, and like, this is first season, they're figuring out their identity. You have no idea where it goes from here, and it gets so much fucking better.
Yeah, it's rampant, and we definitely see a lot more of it as we go. But after that, they see another animal that takes a liking to them, the tawny frogmouth, which is a bird that they claim is one of the few animals that actually likes them. Chris Pontius leans in for it's what a cute looking bird this thing is, though, eh?
I don't know if cute's the fucking word. After I seen that deep throat, I was just like, holy. So it went from the most gentle moment to the most aggressive moment in nature. Like,
he's very like, sexual.
It was so, he was like, fuck, I realized I'm on camera there.
Pontius' nose. Deep throat, that was his nose. Pontius goes in for a kiss, and it just kind of like, listen, I had to spend a long time considering a lot of things about myself after this sketch.
I never wanted to fuck an animal before, but if I had to,
this is on the short list. Gun to your head. This is now up there. Now, that or a sea cucumber, maybe. Yeah, because they can give you a nice facial.
Oh, that would be fucking you.
Yeah, well, hey, listen, no one said who has to be on bottom. Now we go to maybe the second cutest animal that we can find. It's the boobook owl. With his little tiny, it's the smallest owl in all of Australia. And I think if you ask it would probably call it Owlstralia, because I would go there just to visit this little guy, and I would name a country after it. I want to dedicate my life to saving this thing. It's so cute. I consider getting a pet boobook owl as a pet after this. But apparently really sharp talons. Hey? Yeah. It reaches out and grabs Steve-O with his hand because they want to test how actually powerful it is. And it grabs Steve-O's hand, which probably hurts a lot more. You know, when you have like, it's one thing to get like a big pain, but those little pains, those tiny little pinches and things like that sometimes hurt way more in that weird way. It's like, why in the UFC does no one ever go for like bend the guy's pinky back and try to get him to tap that way? Like, you'd think someone would have tried that by now. But instead, the owl grabs onto Steve-O's arm, and it's kind of the cutest thing I've ever seen. If you look at the owl with its eyes super, super wide, Steve-O lets out this yelp, and this owl is the smallest thing in Australia, or smallest owl in Australia, looks at Steve-O like it's so proud about what it just did. Like the owl looks at it with its eyes wide, like, what the? I just fucking slayed a giant. Look at this thing. It's bending to my will. He looks so happy, and I just was so proud of him. I wanted to give him a little like participation ribbon. It was so cute. You know what he looks like? He looks like Simba in The Lion King when he tries to growl at the hyenas and his dad growls behind him, and he surprises himself by the voice that comes out.
That's a great analogy.
Oh, man. So that's it. We're making our way, as we said, through Tasmania, and what stop through Tasmania would there be without a little look at the most dangerous animal in the world, an animal maybe a little bit misunderstood, but has a whole cartoon character named after it, the Sarcophilus
satanicus.
Sarcophilus satanicus. There you go. I knew you'd be able to get it, Chris. Why don't you walk us through what this is, Chris?
Since the first time I saw the sketch, there's something about it. Their voices, the fucking wigs and the makeup, like the look of both of them, especially Steve-O with that like kind of mullety type wig going on. They're basically they're want to go see the Tasmanian Devil, and they want to, obviously pay their due respect. So they get in there worshiping their satanic ritualistic garb. They go out there and they just keep saying Sacriphilus Satanicus, and their voices
as though they're manifesting it or worshiping it in some way. They have like candles set up and everything. It was just this
so funny to me.
Even the way they filmed it with like a darker tinge to the camera. They have the robes on. The funniest part to me is when they took the robes off and they just had mullet hair on for no reason. Like their faces are all in makeup as this cult like very prototypical cliche almost cult like worship of a monk, and they take the robes off and they have a Patrick Swayze style mullet. It was fucking hilarious.
Death
I loved everything about it.
Part of life as life. Like what the fuck does that even mean?
Who do you think had the better deep voice?
Well, who had the better, or whose was funnier? Like Pontius was nailing it. You could tell Steve-O was really struggling. Like it was so much thought and effort had to go into every single time he did it. And that's what was absolutely killing me. Like he was just hanging on by a thread there, and they're trying to keep up the serious tone. And you could tell they're just like, what? Like they have to be thinking like, what the fuck are we doing like right now? Like, you know what I mean? It was just,
I feel like that's half of their thoughts while they're filming this is like, I hope this is good because we're fucking uncomfortable right now.
They just released shirts, the Sarcophilus Satanicus shirts.
Amazing.
On Pontius's website. I almost bought one.
That's awesome.
When I bought my other shirts, they released that one like the day after. I was so pissed because I would have bought that one for sure. Because I fucking, once I watch this sketch, I'll be saying it in my head for days to come, every single time. Like I just love it so much. I don't know why. It's nothing really goes on, but it just kills me.
Well, Chris, when you see a Tasmanian Devil, obviously the first thing I think of is Taz from Bugs Bunny. Do you think that's a good representation of Taz, or does it surprise you that for whatever reason they gave him that nomiker?
I don't really understand what you mean there, to be honest.
Well, like why, Tasmanian Devil is known to be just this fucking outrageous guy. He literally moves around in a tornado. Like he's just out to kill everything.
Yeah. It's not a good representation of what the Tasmanian Devil is.
Yeah.
Not really at all. It's very cartoonish, but
there were elements of it. Like when the two Tasmanian Devils start to fight over the asshole of the dead wallaby, which grossed me out. The fact that they go straight for the asshole and they
almost all predators do.
Why? Are they millennials? Are they predator millennials? What's happening here?
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, they figured this out a long time before we did, obviously.
I like the idea that the millennials venture into Gen Z ventures into like the wild, and they try to ingratiate themselves like a Dances with Wolves type situation. Although it's actually wolves that they're growing up with, and they're like, no, we get it. We're predators. We eat ass as well. And then they're like, oh, you eat ass? And it's like, yeah. And then they're like, okay, show us. And they start licking, and it's like, oh no. You got to crunch the tailbone before you really get in there. Like that idea just really grossed me out for some reason. But when the Tasmanian Devils start to tussle a little bit, I was like, oh, okay, I could almost picture a little bit of a tornado going here. They were pretty aggressive. They knock over the candles, and Steve-O in his deep voice is like, watch the candles. Just great.
It's one of those sketches that
everything about this.
We could talk about it as much as we can, but until you actually see it yourself, it's just you need to watch the actual sketch to understand it, because it sounds like the way we're describing it, like nothing's going on, but everything is going on.
Yeah, it's hard to describe exactly how crazy this one is, but I'm glad it exists. I'm glad we watched it. Now I kind of understand why the Tasmanian Devil in the Warner Brothers depiction got the showing that it is. Chris, that brought us through to the end of the episode. All in all, Australia, a little bit of a bust. Yeah. I mean, if this episode seemed like it was kind of all over the place, that's because, like this episode of Jackast, that's because the episode of WildBoyz was as well. I feel like there wasn't really a thread bringing us through. A lot of moments that had had a, something to kind of say one or two things about, but very little to sink your teeth into. This was not a dead wallaby's asshole.
Yeah, sorry, that caught me off guard. I did not expect that line. That was a good one. Yeah, I mean, I got really excited with Australia, but the more you think about it, when you're going to these places where everything is so deadly, what can you really do? Do you know what I mean?
True.
Like, I'm excited because I'm like, man, this is going to be gnarly, but like, you're playing with a level that you can't really play with, to be honest. So they had to find other ways around there, and it was a decent episode, but definitely not one of my favorites.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like they could have got a bit more creative. I think they knew the subject matter was so good that they felt like they could have just shown up, filmed whatever they wanted, and released the episode. But I think they would have been a lot better off taking some time to get a little bit more creative. Like we said, maybe spacing this out over the course of a couple episodes. But we're not going to do that. No. So why would they take this advice when we're not taking it ourselves, Chris? I enjoyed going to Australia with you. Miss Jay out there. Hope he's having a good vacation. Maybe we'll get him back next week. We'll see when he is back and when our next recording is. But before we go, obviously, make sure to get out there. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at JackastPod. Send any comments, questions, things you want us to read on air, jackastpod@gmail.com. You can also follow me at Retrograde Mikey on Twitter. Why not? Chris, I know you're not as big on Twitter, but you are managing the Jackast Instagram account. So you can say hi to Chris there. He'll have a good time with you and check us out. And we'll see you guys next week for another episode, not of WildBoyz, but of Viva La Bam, baby. We're going back to Philadelphia, where it all began, where we were born and raised. So thanks once again for joining us.
Bye. I'm Chris Aaronworth.
Bye. I'm Jason Wellwood.
Bye. I'm Mikey Aaronworth, and this has been Jackast.
Furnished by Sad Styles Productions.
Get into it!
This was a Press X for Sound audio production.